Like every other industry, M&A has also been pretty badly hit by the ongoing global pandemic. And when I say M&A, I'm broadly talking about three categories of transactions. So the first would be your 100% acquisitions of companies. And as far as these goes, we've seen acquirers basically hit the brakes and hit them pretty hard. The reason for this is that people don't see any benefit in acquiring just cost without acquiring any revenue. And there is no visibility on when that revenue is likely to return. The other challenge with this is that people are dependent on their own cash flows to fund these acquisitions, particularly strategic acquisitions. And if cash flow has been affected by the current situation, then their ability to consummate these transactions is naturally also affected. The second type of transaction, which we don't think has been as severely affected, are private equity and venture capital transactions. And as you would have seen, there are a fair number of deals which are still going through. Having said that, valuations are of course being revisited, and the reason for this is that valuations are linked to the achievement of future projections and revenue, none of which really seem realistic anymore and need to be revisited, as a consequence of which valuations are also revisited. Funds are sitting on dry powder though, and this does need to be deployed within the life cycle of the fund. So we're quite optimistic that venture capital and private equity deals will continue to take place in the coming months as well. The third and last category, which we are focused on, would be joint ventures. And despite the challenges posed by the protectionist approach that a lot of governments are currently taking, we're still seeing a fair amount of cross-border joint venture activity, particularly in the pharma and life sciences space. There are challenges relating to inability to travel and bridge cultural gaps. Just over Zoom calls can sometimes be difficult, but there is a reasonable amount of activity happening as far as domestic and cross-border joint ventures go. I think strategic and financial investors are taking slightly different approaches in addressing the current situation. The financial investors, for the most part, are preferring to err on the side of caution, errors of omission rather than errors of commission, so to say. So they're wanting to sit, wait and watch, see where things land when this situation starts coming to an end, and then they will look to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves at that stage. Strategic investors have to take a slightly more longer-term view, and I think are continuing with their ongoing discussions for strategic opportunities. Although these are also moving along at a fairly slow pace for the moment at least. We're also seeing a pivot in industry focuses, both for financial and strategic investors. So sectors such as edtech, health tech, cybersecurity, work from home technologies, which may have not necessarily seemed that attractive 3 months ago, are now looking a lot more attractive to people. So there is a change in industry focus that we are also seeing. Oh, the challenges that we're facing while actually trying to move things along in transactions are quite different at different stages of the deal cycle. So while negotiating documents, personally, one of the larger issues that I've been facing when we're dealing with first-time promoters or SMEs or people in tier 2, tier 3 cities who are doing this for the first time, is that things that you would be able to fairly easily resolve with an in-person interaction where you're able to build that rapport and reach that level of trust with one another is much harder to do remotely. As things move along in a transaction, when we're looking to close, there are certain conditions precedent which need to be fulfilled, which could involve third parties. For instance, you may need an NOC from your banker in order for a transaction to move forward. Now, these are obviously not priorities for the bankers, who themselves are bogged down with limited resources. Practical challenges with payment of stamp duty, collection of ESPTR. These have not been deemed to be essential services, but are of course very essential to actually closing a transaction. Simple things like remote execution of documents, which may seem fairly straightforward, but is not necessarily always the case, given that a lot of people don't have digital signatures. They don't have access to scanners, printers, and so on. So there are a number of practical, what we would think to be very mundane issues. But these are some of the challenges that we've been facing. But we've been able to find solutions. We work collaboratively with clients and partners to actually make sure that a deal is able to close despite the world being shut down at the moment. I'm actually quite optimistic about the future. I see deal flow increasing significantly in the coming months because there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Some of that opportunity might be distressed opportunity, but there's also going to be a lot of consolidation, which in my opinion was a long time coming. Let's also not forget that India has attracted a lot of venture capital and private equity money, which has been committed to us as a geography. So that's going to have to be deployed sooner rather than later. So I'm actually very, very optimistic about what the future is going to look like. Personally, as lawyers, I think we're in a privileged position where we can play more of a strategic role for our clients, not limit ourselves just to documentation or finding reasons why people cannot do things, but to use our exposure to so many different types of industries, so many different types of people, transaction structures, to the benefit of our clients, and help them and assist them with taking advantage of these opportunities, which are certainly going to be presenting themselves in the coming months.